All right, you guys, welcome back to another episode of Car Talk. I'm right here with my co-host Ryan from.
Rywire.
We've done this so many times, you guys, and all of you guys, thank you for being here with us. The episode that we did about answering questions, a lot of you guys were really happy about that, and then a lot of you guys also said, "Damn, I didn't, my question didn't get answered," and so we compiled more, and we decided to do another episode earlier than we thought, based off of how many other questions there are that people want to have answered. So,
True.
once again, if you watch this episode and your question wasn't answered, let us know in the comments, and we will jot it down for the next one. So, Ryan, I take it you got a few,
I got some. I got
okay?
some.
But
Yep, yep,
but
yep.
but like they're not like small questions, right? They're like good questions,
I think they're pretty good
right?
questions.
Because somebody asked if we work out, and I didn't know what to do with that question because I was like, do you mean together? Do you mean individually? I didn't know, and I didn't really know if I should have even said that on the microphone. So okay, so we're gonna just if that was your question,
So answer it. I mean, do you work out?
I yes I do,
That's good. It's very
and
healthy of you.
and let's go ahead and
But
move.
do you like lift or do you just like
I
work
mean,
out?
I might be the most agile big dude you'll ever meet.
No, I know you.
I
I
do
know
a
you
little bit
lift.
of the both.
I know you lift. I know you cardio. I know you play basketball.
I do. I
Yeah.
do. I know you guys did not think that this is where this episode was going. So let's go. Let's get back to the car talk. So
Okay.
you know what, Ryan? I feel like the range of questions
Uh huh.
is actually kind of cool, ranging from
Yeah.
like why this on that build all the way to what where do you see your business in 10 years and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. So you know what? Let's start with one of the ones that you have written down over there.
Okay, okay. One of the questions that I've got is, what is the favorite car that I've owned?
Okay.
And for me, I guess you want me to start? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Go
Because
ahead.
I can ask you the same thing.
Sure.
Um, it's hard for me to say like one vehicle that I can say as my top. They're kind of different categories, right? You have a category of cars that have the best performance,
Okay, okay, I see what you're
cars
saying.
that are like the most fun to just practical,
Okay,
and then maybe like visual,
all right.
right?
So
So
you're
so
you're
I kind
feeling
of
like fun
yeah, I
or
kind of like
favorite is different.
sure, I made it like three different
Okay,
things.
okay,
So my favorite car to drive
okay,
is my GT3
okay.
997 GT3 RS. I still have the car.
Mm-hmm.
It's my favorite car to drive. It's really fast and it's a driver's car. I mean, that's what a 911 is, right?
Sure.
My favorite car to just look at that I've ever owned was my NSX
Okay.
because you just look at it and you're like, oh, this is a great car. But when you actually drive it, not so much,
I
which is really
I
sad.
profoundly disagree with that perspective, but okay.
For me, I think that it does circles around the 911. And then practicality wise, I actually liked my BMW E46 M3
Oh,
for just like daily driver,
dude, I
like the best.
forgot about you
That
having
car
that
was
car.
sweet, dude.
I
And for
forgot
like
about
and
that.
for like the 10 grand that I bought it for and the 10 grand that I sold it for,
Yeah.
and it being a wash for like 4 years of just
Yeah.
driving excellence. Is that what BMW's thing is? Driving excellence or drive? What is it? It was a good. It was a treat to drive that car,
I think it's
especially.
kind of sad that we both don't know the BMW slogan, the ultimate driving machine.
Yes,
Okay.
for the ultimate driving machine.
You just went for experience.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm sure they'd be happy that you said I had my ultimate driving experience in a BMW. I think they'd be all right.
That's a great daily driver.
Mm-hmm.
After owning that car, I was like, oh, I'm gonna daily drive a BMW like from here on out. But then, like, I didn't.
Then you did not.
But I really like that E46.
No, I mean, look, the market value of those is crazy.
Yeah, and that
That's how
helped.
you bought it for 4 years later after driving the piss out of it. I mean, you didn't even put that many miles because you live so close. But
I mean, I think Yasu might have put like
more,
10
he
on
put
it.
he might have put more than you did.
No, you put a lot of miles.
So
on it.
shout out to our boy Yasutaka. When he came over
He
here,
would just
he stays with Ryan sometimes, drives
the
Ryan and
car.
stuff, and then he drove that M3 like a pretty good amount.
Yeah, like back and forth to San Diego every single day, Vegas, like back
Yeah.
and forth like a bunch of times. Like, what did
But
you?
Yasu's the truth, man. Like Yasu, when we were doing my car, um, he like came over. I'm pretty sure he came over just to see the build and see us working.
And then he's just working on
And
it.
then it was just like, do you need any help? And it just happened to be like, we were behind and it was late and we've been exhausted all October.
Did he
working
set
on
up
car.
the suspension?
Oh yeah, and it was
Yeah.
like, Yasu, can you just make sure the ride height's good? And he was like, sure. Probably started off with a cigarette, and then he just went in, and he didn't just like measure. No, he if he could have corner balanced the car,
Yeah,
he would have corner balanced it. He went in. Like,
that's one of his specialties.
yes, is the
sure.
chassis setup,
Mhm.
and he killed it. I have it set up the way Yasutaka from Exceed Japan to this day, other
Mhm.
than one alignment.
Yeah.
The whole thing is still set up that way. So shout out to Yasu. So all right,
Okay,
so
you're-
look at NSX.
Yes.
Drive your GT3 RS.
Yes.
Okay. And then daily, the
practicality,
M3.
M3.
It's a bit of a stable right
It's
there.
a nice lineup.
It's a nice lineup.
But I don't have all those cars right now.
Fair
but-
enough. Fair enough.
So
Okay,
same
so I have
question.
been asked very, very much over the years, what is the favorite car that I've owned? I think that in a way, if I do it the way, Ryan did, that's one way to do it. The way that I have sort of defaulted
yeah,
to
it could be
coming up with,
different.
yeah. is I feel like it's asking someone what their favorite movie or favorite book is, in the sense that depending on what's going on in your life, where your mind is at that moment,
Mhm.
the answer kind of changes.
Yeah.
There isn't necessarily one that's just no matter what, that's it.
Because
Because
you could look back and be like, oh, actually, this
Yeah,
is now my
yeah.
favorite car.
I think that my EF,
Mm-hmm.
in many ways, is one of the like worst tragedies of a loss to me, because it was a 90 or 91. I believe it was a 91,
Those are the same.
right? But I mean, like having the newest possible,
Yeah.
like
yeah.
91. But it was black. I had Vision carbon mirrors, an EF9 front end
Mhm.
with a brand new EF9 front lip and bumper lights. So it was like beautiful,
Yeah.
clean looking.
Yep.
The headlights were didn't even need to be at that time restored. They were just nice and clear.
Mm-hmm.
So with fresh black paint, the car just looked great.
Yeah.
I mean, just great. Like, you can't really beat a black EF.
Yeah.
And the EF9 front end was just fantastic. The only thing I never did was the red stripe,
yeah.
which I feel like if I did that, I would probably be even more. I mean, it's just a pinstripe,
Yeah.
but that completes like the ultimate.
Yeah.
But anyways, I had it on 5 Ziegen, Beckett's at one point, Blitz's at one point, but it had a Stromung. Do you guys remember Stromung? DA exhaust. So
Oh,
it's the
it
same
didn't-
kind of shape.
but it didn't quite fit.
Yeah, but like you couldn't tell.
yeah.
But the
yeah.
tips had so it was like, I loved that car.
That's the one that got away.
Well, I fell asleep and
Yeah, I
crashed
know,
it.
that's right. You
Right.
crashed it.
So
But that's the one that you want back.
there's just something about that car. I mean, obviously we like 90s Hondas. And then even if you go like late 80s, it's even older, but yet there was just something about them. I had a CRX too. Now, the thing I love about CRX is, well, I love everything about them, but I do like, we've talked about this in another episode. You know how in the dash an EF is flat and then a CRX is clocked slightly towards the driver. So I
And
like
the Japanese ones even clocked a
yes.
little bit
So
more.
like I
don't know
always wanted
why.
to do a CRX dash swap
yeah.
in an EF. But
Yeah.
anyways, okay, so the EF, just of how clean that car was, it burned a ton of oil by the time it was original motor. By the time I got to a certain point with it, I was adding oil like every 2-3 days, but I still got like 41 miles per gallon. I mean, there's nothing
Yeah.
about that car that I just could not love. 87 octane, 40 plus miles per gallon, and it looked fantastic. And so that's a really sad car. That's one of my favorite cars. I think about it often, and I just haven't really dedicated the time and the money to trying to replicate that, which I totally could. And I just haven't. So that, in that sense, guys, that's one of my favorite. I think that favorite to look at, favorite to drive, I think that's a really good way of doing it, the way you did it, Ryan. I think that if you guys look at my Honda tuning photo shoot from 2008, I think version 1 of my Prelude, when it was the red wine color on Tanabe Presidio wheels, which are
Mhm.
like stupid rare. One of many wheels that to this day I don't really understand why I sold them. Tanabe Presidio wheels with center caps, 5 lug on that car. That look with that red wine paint when it was freshly detailed,
Mhm.
with those wheels, that might be the favorite
Your favorite look?
to look at.
Okay.
And I did drive. Man, many people still think because they don't see me in the version 3 Prelude,
Mhm.
they think that I don't drive my cars. Dude, you know, I
Mhm.
drove both versions. Even when I went open ITB
Yeah.
mint
to
green,
NorCal, you
dude,
were
NorCal
open
like
ATV.
twice a year.
Yeah.
For I probably put 25,000 miles on the car in version 1 and version 2. So the people who are like, I don't see him drive the car. It's like, shut up, like you're not paying my bills when I get rolled, when I get
Yeah.
ref tickets and like no front plate tickets or just get harassed in the middle of the night. You're not the one dealing with that. So, anyways, so to look at favorite to drive. Okay, so that one in a way, my IT bead, my IT bead car.
Mhm.
That was my favorite. The VTEC crossover on that setup was
Most fun to
stupid.
drive.
Most fun to drive. The
Yeah.
mint green Prelude. I'm getting in and out of bandana interior.
Yeah.
Like the engine bay, well, to this day, people are like, that shit was way ahead of its time.
Yeah.
The color was, it was obviously a little polarizing, but whether it was on the black Regamasters or the
Mhm.
NSX spec ones
Yeah.
or whatever, that car was the most fun to drive. I've never been into super dumped cars, so I've always been able to go into and out of driveways, go over speed bumps. I wasn't always cringing when something was on the freeway because I was never dumped.
Yeah.
I've always driven in a very like respectable, usable height.
Yeah.
And honestly, half the time that's how it's supposed to be because you're supposed to have a 90 degree to your LCA. You're not supposed to be all
Sure.
turned in. So I've always been really happy with a ride height that made driving. I wasn't always like slamming on the brakes and hardcore angling. So that for that sense, and then my wagon when I first got it,
Mm.
because of the space, you put the rear seats down, like you could it's like a truck.
Yeah.
When you put the rear seats down, I've transported 8 tires and 2 sets of wheels in there.
The East Coast didn't they have the same Accords in right-hand drive for male vehicles?
In the US?
Yeah, in the US.
I think people used them, but I don't know if that was like common.
I think it was common.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so I
your
don't know
exact
that.
car.
Yeah, I don't know that.
They like imported them from the mail service imported them from
like
Japan.
the United States Postal Service?
Yeah. And then you can get like a right-hand one if it's from a male, like an old male vehicle.
Well, I know that people are bringing over certain right-hand drive like mini truck van dealios.
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
using them in like the Midwest right now.
Really?
Yeah, but I
Huh.
think it's like one dude here
Oh,
and like
okay.
one dude there. I didn't
No,
know
I
it
think
was
that
like
I think the United States like brought them over. It may because
okay. For
somebody,
all of my
somebody
Accord
clarify,
fans,
please
okay,
clarify.
all of the Accord guys, if what you just said is true,
Maybe
the
it's not, I
hardcore
don't know.
Accord guys would I would presume no, and they're
Sure.
probably like, how the fuck do you not know that, Big Mike? So you got anyone?
Or maybe
in
I'm
here-
getting the platform wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was an Accord.
Okay, does anyone in here know if Ryan's got it right, or is he mixing up just a chassis or what? Because I don't know that, and I don't know if I've ever even heard of that. So, anyways, I mean, I feel like I could give you. I mean, you name 3 cars. Look at, drive at, blah blah blah. So for me, it's very difficult because if you ask me that on another day,
It might be different.
I honestly think it might be. Well, I think my CRX because of the dash and it was so compact and you can't beat a CRX body. Like I feel like
Yeah.
my answer will
Like
change.
I had a 91 teal EF SI hatchback.
Yes.
And then it triggered. Oh, I really liked that car.
Yes.
And then I
Yes.
could have maybe in a different day I would have said that one
Yes.
for whatever
Yes.
experience.
I mean, dude, I've even had a Camry, okay? And that's obviously not a cool car in the sense of probably what everyone's thinking, but getting in an automatic 4-door car that you won't get pulled over in,
yeah,
right?
that's
And
a
it's-
nice experience.
It was a
too.
nice experience, and everyone knows 90 Toyota's air conditioning is brutally cold.
Mhm.
Like I'm talking about 105-degree summers in Southern California, and I'd be dipping the Camry, stuck in traffic. I'd have the AC to 1, and I'd be like,
Yeah.
I can't feel my face.
Yeah.
And I would have to turn the AC off. That's how cold 90s
Too cold.
Toyota AC was.
It's the Freon.
It's dude. But I mean, Hondas used the same Freon in the 90s,
yeah.
and a Honda AC sucked if you weren't driving.
Yeah, if it's not moving.
Yeah, but that one I was freezing. So,
Yeah.
anyways, you guys, if any of my old Toyota heads, I'm sure you guys know, like 90s Toyota AC is like unnecessarily cold.
I wonder if it's just like a larger compressor or a different condenser.
I
or a
don't know
bigger
what Toyota
condenser.
did, but Honda, everyone also knows
They
that Honda
oversized
AC.
it.
Yeah, Honda AC, if you're not moving, was like, this is not really cold air anymore, you know?
Yeah.
But anyways, guys, so that's kind of the, and there goes my phone. That's kind of the version of that. You know, I just feel like we've had so many experiences with cars that it kind of evolves slightly,
Yeah.
you know? So, okay. So anyways,
Because mine's clearly evolved.
all right. So next, let me grab my phone here.
Okay. People were asking about the YouTube series,
Okay.
like my YouTube
Yeah.
series, and they're asking me like, what's next? When is the CRX gonna come back? What do you know? You gonna do more episodes on the EVS 2000? So the answer is yes.
Okay.
The CRX right now has the engine removed, and the engine's in NorCal at Chapman Concepts,
Okay.
and he's doing the
The
Cerakoting
Cerakoting.
on the whole engine.
Yes.
And the reason why I had to go or that I decided to go all the way to Northern California for that was because on Phil's car,
yes.
he did the same thing.
Yes.
And I asked a few places down here to
They didn't want to do it.
They were like, "Oh, disassemble the engine, this
Mhm.
and that," and I'm like, "Well, I'm not really trying to do all that."
Yeah.
And I want to get the same look, but what
Sure.
do I do? And then Fred's like, "Well, yeah, I could do it again, like no problem."
Yeah.
So I'm like, "All right, well, we have a little bit of time, so whenever you're free,
Sure.
shoot down, or if I'm going up that way." And
I mean, I like
think,
it.
yeah,
I like
it's
it.
gonna get done soon.
Yeah.
So that project is gonna go back on YouTube soon.
Okay. So for those of you in here, you probably do, but if you don't, take the time to go to Ryan's channel here on YouTube. You'll see EV S2000 episode. You get to see behind the scenes of that, the CRX that he's talking about, and then there's other stuff. And so it's
Yes.
important for you guys to check that out.
So the goal right now is to get more like Rywire stuff on there.
Yeah.
So in the last year I've done like kind of like how to order a Honda harness.
Yes.
That was pretty helpful for a lot of people to be able to kind of see how you would go about with the selections on the website.
Yes.
Okay. And then we did like how to program the PDM. So I did like
yes.
a thing where I literally programmed a PDM and just did like step by step. So that was cool. And then we did obviously our EVS 2000 series, which is not finished yet,
Mhm.
meaning there's still more content that we have to edit and get uploaded.
Yeah.
So that's still going. And then the CRX will eventually come back when the engine's back.
Yes.
We will bring that back out and
Mhm.
we'll kind of wrap that car up. So hopefully, in this 2021 year that's coming up very, very soon, we can have like all those projects kind of wrapped up, and
Yeah.
then we'll see what the next project is.
Okay. Beautiful. Beautiful.
So that's kind of my YouTube question.
All right. And you know what? Yeah. And so I got something basically effectively the same question. And I think it was a gentleman who might be in my live streams or something and heard me mention it. But yeah, guys, so the build I'm doing for a client ended up being okayed to be documented in a similar fashion. So step by step, like for example, there'll be an electronics episode because there's a lot of electronics. And Ryan will be directly a part of that part of it. And then turbo sizing, layout, fabrication. So I'm going to document it all, and it's all going up on my personal YouTube channel. Please take the time to check that out. I think you guys will appreciate the process of the build, the art that goes behind it, and the mindset, and the thought process, combining client's idea, my idea, and finding a happy medium. And then in other times, it's not even happy medium. They're just like, you do what you want. And then
Yeah.
sometimes they say, no matter what you do, I want this to be a certain color, a certain layout.
Yeah, they're like, I don't care what
These are
you
the
do,
factors.
I just need this part.
Yeah. Yes.
Right,
Yes.
all right.
And so we build around it, for the customer. So I'm excited for both of us to provide like quality automotive building content for you guys.
So are you going to be documenting like a lot of like physical working on the car? Or are you going to be doing a lot of like background theory and why you
Well,
design
I'll
things,
show you guys. So
or
yeah,
everything?
I mean, honestly, I don't know. I know a lot of people do it, but I don't really see myself doing 30 minutes of people watching you like underneath a car.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
like maybe a time
I
lapse
never
of
know what
like
to do. Like
like
it's so hard to know.
if okay, what do you guys, for those of you that have watched Ryan's episode so far, do you think he should incorporate new stuff like what we just said? Should it be more physical mechanical labor
Or should it be
included?
more thought and theory?
Right. And then for the build, okay, regardless of what the car is, for those of you that have seen my build and you're now like, okay, well, I want to see what and how Big Mike does a build. Do you want to see mechanical work, like the removal of the subframe with the suspension, like physical work? Or do you care more about, all right, guys, this is what we're going to do? And then it transitions into here it's off, transitions into I've taken it apart, or do you want to see it come apart? Both? None? I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
because maybe
interested to
it's
what you guys want to see.
yeah, it's like is it too involved if it's just like every
Right. Right.
nut and bolt, and that probably takes forever to do that
Yeah,
too.
you have to record like 50 hours and
And
it
then
becomes
just
like 7 minutes.
yeah.
And I mean, look, I know some people do that, and shout out to the people that do that. But I feel like the people have seen there's enough of that.
Yeah.
Right? But we want to know what you guys, if you've never watched Ryan's episodes, check one out, please. Come back to this episode or comment on his and say, I love it, I hate it. If you added this, if you took this out, and at least we know your thoughts. And same thing, whatever suggestions you have for how you think would be a dope way to cover this build that I am building and designing with and for a client. So that's our respective YouTube build channels. Well, mine's also travel vlogs and podcasts and things like that. So
Yeah,
it
you're
isn't
doing
just
like other content.
yeah, I do everything. So it's like lifestyle and things like that. So that's the whole YouTube thing, guys. And I mean, obviously, we appreciate you being here. The feedback from certain like major people in the industry on this channel has been. I got a message the other night from someone who's probably been in for 30 years. Like if we were talking about who are about 20,
Yeah.
they're a good 10 years older. So
Yeah.
boom, right
Yeah.
there. And they took the time to message and say, dude, the way they worded it was the intelligence and the chemistry that we have
Okay.
is unmatched.
Nice.
This is not a young person who's just
Yeah.
saying words,
Right.
right? This is a person who's been around a long time, has some fantastic builds and done a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a kind of a very cool thing, because if a 16-year-old who is kind of new to things is like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen, it's a compliment, but it's one that's based off of only so much experience.
Right.
If someone who's done something for that many years says, now watching and listening to you guys is captivating, that's a different kind of compliment, because the person has seen and heard so much that they might be like, this is all boring to me. So I thought it was a really cool kind of compliment, but it not to say that a young person, your guys' positives, pros, and compliments and feedback are just as important.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of putting that into a perspective. So when we come back, we're gonna hit more of these questions. Ryan's got a handful more. I've got a whole handful right here that I've put together from your guys' messages, in-person conversation, DMs, polls, all that. So we'll come back and we'll continue answering your guys' questions. We'll see you in a bit.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Ryan from Rywire here, and today I have something really, really cool to show you. What I want to show you guys is that nothing that I'm doing here is so far-fetched that you guys can't do it at home. We don't have any CNC, there's no 5-axis machine here. I'm literally just using my brain and hand tools to get a really, really cool project done. Even in the most basic conditions, a beautiful outcome can arise.
All right, you guys, welcome back. We are dedicating this episode to answering all of your questions. In our first segment, we spent a lot of time on some that Ryan has gotten, which, they spill over. I've gotten a lot of them too.
Yeah.
But I know that there's a few more, right?
Yep,
so what other questions did you get?
I got a question about the EAT, my
Yep.
Civic, and if it's coming back, because the Peterson. It was at the Peterson for
Yeah.
like almost like 2 years
2
now.
years now.
It's crazy. Well, because of COVID, they like kind of closed down,
Sure.
and then they have a new event coming in, and they asked me, like, can you come pick it up? And I was in the middle of building the S2000. This was like about 2 months ago,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I can't
At
go
this
pick it
exact
up.
moment, yeah.
I'm like, but you can drop it off.
Yes.
Because I know they have like
Yeah.
the ability to do that, or
Yes.
send a tow truck. You know,
Yes.
like emergency hookers, have Victor do it or something,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
it's not that hard. And then I'm like, yeah, you could just drop it off, and they're like, oh, okay. And then every single week, they've been like, oh, we have this delay, or that happened, or the truck broke, or this happened, or your battery's dead. We're gonna charge it. Okay, this and that. It's been like 3 months
Of weekends
of
that
like
just not happening.
every single week they're gonna.
So it's
bring
coming back.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. All right.
It's coming back, and I really want to bring it, like, Kenji from Gretty. He's been having those like EF kind of events.
Yeah.
So I mean, granted, if there's
Yes, guys,
if he
we're
does it,
going.
yeah, I really want to bring the car.
If you guys have not seen this car in person,
I want to bring it out there.
it is a fantastic Wonder Civic. It is, dude. You guys, it's not just.
It's wonderful.
It's wonderful. You guys have to check it out.
So-
like if you didn't know any better other than the dash, you would look inside and be like, "Oh my god, this is so fucking pristine for its age and blah blah blah."
it's in such good condition.
The interior is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But obviously when you hear it, you'll know. But I'm glad that it's coming back.
Yeah. I'm anxious to get it back. I want to bring it to Kenji's meet.
Yeah.
I want to bring it around a little bit. I just
Yeah.
want to like see it again. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's coming back soon.
Yeah, if you guys watch another episode, Ryan's talked about how out of all the builds, that one like made him like low key tear up when it was finished.
I did. I
So-
swear to God, it was weird, but it happened. It hit an emotional.
Listen,
just right.
Listen, you guys,
It's a
please
pre-
look it up.
I love that car.
Like, just if if you can't see it in person, if you're not in Southern California, Google the Rywire Civic. It'll come up. It's been featured. Just a gorgeous build. Okay, so EA's coming back. What's next?
So I've been posting on my stories a bunch
Mhm.
about like recruiting a new employee.
Okay.
We need some more help in the office.
Okay.
And had some interviews and stuff like that, and I may have found somebody.
Okay.
So
So
people were asking like, hey, did you know
new addition
is
to
the
the
job
team.
is the job filled yet?
I see.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hire somebody on January 4th.
And give them a trial run.
He's a car guy. Give him a trial run. A few
Probationary
months,
period, sure.
probation, and see if he works out. And
Yeah.
I kind of explained like it's such a tight group here with it's just a small little team.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's important that everybody like clicks.
Oh, for sure.
So that's actually an important one, which is
So if he's really great at his job, but he just doesn't for whatever reason
like you can't
mesh.
Like if it doesn't mesh, then
If the
might
vibes
not
are off.
work.
Yeah. Okay. So
So-
new member of the team, trial run,
Mm-hmm.
January 4th.
January 4th.
Very cool. Very, very cool. All right.
I think it's the 4th or the 3rd, whatever Monday is.
All right.
I can't really reply to that one, I guess. So that's all me. Let's see. How about
I've got some.
yeah, let's do it. Let's see yours.
I've got a lot, but
Let's do some of yours.
they're kind of in a way been answered because they're sort of similar. But
sure. Well,
but
so
there's
what-
also
what do
you
you got?
guys, I've got some really great ones. Once again, if you hear a question being answered and you're like, dude, I know that's mine, say that in the comments, because they come from so many places that I actually sometimes forget,
where you actually saw it.
Yes. All right. What do you define a scene kid as? Okay.
You start. Yeah, I want to hear what you're gonna say.
Okay. A scene kid. Okay.
Scene.
So the term, title, scene kid has been applied to people from all kinds of like cultures or scenes, right? And it's not just cars. So for me, I actually think that it's the same sort of definition.
Same kid.
It's the same kind of person, and what it is it is a person, whether it is music or cars or sneakers or fashion or whatever thing they get in. A scene kid can be defined in so many ways, but they are most certainly about attention.
Hmm.
Okay, what they do is almost entirely based on attention. A lot of it is, based on wanting to belong.
Yeah.
And so I try not to be, overly judgmental, because everyone was young at some point, and sometimes without knowing, people try too hard. But what's happening is there are people who are getting older and older, so the kid part starts to become very odd because they're
Yeah.
not
Because
kids,
they're not kids
but they
anymore.
act in a way that's just like, what is wrong with you, you know?
Yeah.
So, scene kids are borderline culture vultures, some of them, because they just come in, and whether they like cars or not, they're the person who, instead of building a dope car, is the one who wants to two step in a parking lot. They're the ones who, for people who vape, they don't just vape, they make sure the world knows they vape, right?
Mhm.
I mean, they're like blowing clouds that obliterate your sight in a parking lot, and they make sure that they have like a fucking LED lights on their vapes and the shit. You know what I'm talking about? Like, there's
Right.
always people who take shit
Everything's
too
a little
far.
extra.
It's extra. They're just doing a little too much or a lot too much. And whether it's the car scene or not, I don't think it's about that. I think that they just, whether accidentally or not, found an environment in which they've been able to get attention or carve out some form of place for themselves. And that's why I also think that there's a whole lot of that on social media.
Oh yeah. Well, that's where they're gonna be like thriving.
Thriving. So I thought that was a thing. I mean, what about you? What do you think?
I mean, I guess I agree because I haven't really like thought of that too.
Sure, I
terribly
hadn't thought about
much.
it in a
Yeah.
while.
But yeah, scene kids to me are guys that want to be seen, and they'll do things that
To be
are
seen.
loud.
There
you know
it
what I
is.
mean?
Yes, their hair is
Yeah.
loud. Their vape cloud is large,
Largest vape cloud in
Yeah.
the game.
and their two step, their exhaust, etc., etc.
It's the burble tunes. And
Sure. Okay, what about this? What do you think, Ryan, or what are your thoughts on the takeovers?
Interesting. I like honestly barely even know what that is. Is that, am I just old? Am I just like
No.
showing my age?
No.
So is the takeovers when they stop the highway?
I
and then
think
they
it
just
applies to parking lot, highway, street,
Okay.
intersection,
So
whatever.
it's
Just
it's blocking.
taking over the
traffic.
area and acting like fucking fools.
I don't know because I've never seen one before.
On the news, maybe?
I don't watch the news.
Okay. Now you're a more extreme version of what my answer is.
Yeah.
And honestly, this has been touched on in a couple of live streams, because you know how they like sometimes, well, if you don't watch the news, but there are times where there's like more than one happening, and then someone gets hit by a car, there's a fight, or
I guess I've seen a couple IG videos.
yeah. So okay, so my answer, I think, is very similar to yours, and I got asked this in a live stream recently. What do I think about takeovers? I don't really think about takeovers,
Yeah.
because nobody that we associate with in any way, shape, or
Is
form
going to any of
would
these
go to
things.
one, has gone to one, would behave like the people who are doing them. So it's almost like an entirely disconnected event. And truthfully, I think it's sort of good placement here with these Q&As,
Mhm.
because to me they are scene kids.
Yeah.
But there's grown men, but there's still a scene kid, because it's about attention, it's about being over the top, it's about being rowdy and loud and look at me and look at us. I don't even think it has to do with the cars.
No.
It's just a way, a method, and so I don't, of course, it's kind of like if someone is dressed a certain way or looks a certain way, maybe by skin tone or haircut, and they behave a certain way. If they do that, then it makes people who saw them think that another or every person who looks that way or dresses that way behaves. And so it absolutely puts a very big burden on the rest of us who might be into hot rods, muscle cars, imports, whatever they were driving in the takeover.
Sure,
You
yeah.
watch the news and it's like a Dodge Durango spinning and hitting a bystander. So is it now that you sort of have to look twice when you see a Dodge Durango?
Right.
But if it's a lowered car, you will, right? The police definitely will,
Yeah.
right? So I think that they ruined it for everyone in every way. And I fucking hate it. But that's about the extent of it. It's almost like a theoretical because we have nothing to do with that.
Right.
Nobody we know, none of your customers that you know about would
Not
ever
that I
even
know
want to
of.
have anything to do with that.
Right.
Right? And I mean, street racing, we all attended or did it back in the day, but it wasn't like through crowds.
Right.
I mean, the bystanders got very close, but it's very different. It wasn't right or legal either. But I mean, as far as just obstructing a major highway
Right.
or a major intersection and just fucking everyone's night up and just screaming and cheering as people act like buffoons, we don't really have any reason to be connected, even thought wise.
Yeah.
Is that like
No, it does make sense. Like, can I say a quick story?
Yes.
So it's not a takeover, but it's just an example. So
Well, you just took over my answer.
I
I'm just
took
kidding.
over. Well, you kind of let out. I
Yeah,
guess I
yeah, no,
kinda,
by all
ran
means.
back right
By
in
all
there.
means.
So I was driving with my girl in her car, and there was a Hyundai and another Hyundai, and they were like souped up Hyundais, right?
Okay.
I don't know what they had, or
Right.
maybe like exhaust.
I
and
just
lowered
like
or
that you
whatever.
said souped up.
They were rice burners.
Okay.
So anyway, they were on the high, or they're on the road, and they're kind of like racing each other, and they stop at a light, and then they're like talking, like, and they're clearly together, right?
Okay.
Then this fucking dude out of left field
Uh-huh.
just comes blasting down, and it's like there was like 3 lanes, and he sees them, and then he tries to like like race by him or something, or try to like So it's like you're driving down the road, and these guys are kind of racing, but they're like they're safely racing, if that's a
Sure,
thing.
sure.
Kind of stoplight. They'll get
Yeah.
on it. They're kind of
But
like
then some other dude.
some other dude just comes fucking tries to like dive bomb, like swoop between them,
Oh.
and then almost hits us, and my girl freaks out.
Sure.
And I'm like, yeah, that's the problem, is that this dude and this dude are like together, and they're like racing, and they're not
Some
legally,
douchebag behind them
but
sees
some-
it
some-
and gets triggered.
yeah, like, oh, like fuck that in my Dodge Durango or whatever. That I'm gonna like, and I got some like Flowmaster glass packs or some shit from fucking
Glass
1985.
packs. Who knows
And-
about glass pack?
And then he like almost hits us,
Right.
Because
right.
he's trying to douchebag maneuver these other 2 guys
Yes.
that are racing, but they're like
But they're not
they're
cutting
like-
people off
No.
and fucking over the world.
they're like waiting for some space, and they
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
like
yeah.
do a pull, and,
Yeah.
and
We've
they're-
all done
They're
that.
actually kind of being good.
Yeah,
right?
we've all done that.
and then
so.
some douche. So it's like it's crazy.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So there you go, guys. I mean, it's just
That's how the takeovers kind of are, right? Like
it's the people who it's all the extreme
it's-
people.
yeah, it's the guys that stand out. And then
Yeah,
they
and
don't
you
know.
put 'em
They
all
don't. And they
together.
don't really know what they're doing, and then they hit somebody that's maybe not an innocent bystander.
Sure.
But you get the point.
I have a question for you guys. Has anyone watching been to one or participated when you were at one, or hell, are any of you watching people who helped set one up? If you want to respond anonymously, that's cool too. I'm actually very genuinely interested. Aside from our perspective, what is your thoughts? You've been? Do you like to go? Have you been? Do you go often? Or do you get in it and start, I don't know, do donuts or
I
peeling
mean,
out?
or are we like wrong because we've never been? and-
Sure. Is
like-
there some other factor to this that we are missing that you would like to express on behalf of, yes, of course, yourself, but of that type of behavior? So, we're very interested. It's not about being judgmental. We feel the way we feel about it, but if you think that we've got it wrong or something like that, by all means. Or if you're watching and you haven't, but like your homeboy, your friend, they've been or they do them or whatever, just get their perspective and share it with us in the comments because we very much like to know. Okay, so let's do the next question.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure you got a version of it, but it's basically what is the plan for Rywire? 5-year plan, 10-year plan. Like, what is Rywire all about next year and going forward?
Gotcha. Yes, I definitely did get that question.
Okay.
Well, I get that question like almost every day
Sure.
in some form or another,
Okay, cool. Then
because
here we go.
somebody asks about like, are you doing this product for
Yes,
2021? Is
yes.
there sales? Is there,
Okay.
so I'm getting that form of that question like all day long. Let's see, for 2021, we have a lot of, so it's been kind of like a mess in my head to figure out what my actual goal is and what I want to focus on, right?
Okay.
So what I've basically decided for 2021 is that I really want to hit some of these engine looms that I am already familiar with, but
Okay.
expand on them. So let's take like the Honda K series for example.
Okay.
If you go on my website, you can order like an O2 to O4 lower priced harness that has expandable loom, or you could order an O2 to O4 K series harness that has like the Raychem and the DR25 and the mil-spec connector
Yes,
and stuff,
yes.
right? Okay, but things that are missing from that are there's a newer version of the K series.
Yes.
There is a lot of people doing rear wheel drive longitudinal K swaps, like a lot. So we're actually gonna expand the market of K like pretty significantly.
Okay.
My goals for 2021 are to have a rear wheel drive specific engine harness. I want to do the newer style K engine.
Yep.
So let's call it like a K24Z3. So they have like the smaller connectors on most of the, everything's the same but a little bit different.
Okay.
So I want to have one that's more geared towards specifically to that engine.
And a
Um,
longitudinal harness.
yes. And as well as a front wheel drive harness. So we're just gonna basically like just have a lot more to choose from
Yes.
in the K series realm.
Okay, very cool.
B series, I'm probably not going to really touch too much. It works.
Because what you have provides
It
what
works.
it needs to.
It provides what it needs to. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
People aren't really like turning those sideways. I don't really see the need.
Sure.
All wheel drive is huge, but you don't. It's all kind of mechanical, so you don't really need to add electronics. Like very, very, very minimal, and it's easy to add what you do need. So yeah, K is going to be a huge one with all the rear wheel drive. Also, chassis specific stuff for BMWs like
Yes.
the E30, E36, MR2,
Yes.
rando vehicles, just
Yeah.
like the off. We get today Suzuki Samurai, all these
No,
weird.
you know what, dude? The Puerto Ricans would probably rock that because
That's
they,
yeah.
dude,
That's
they
what
go
David said. David
wild
said
over
the
there.
Samurais are really
Dude,
big
I've seen them with my own eyes in Puerto Rico. They
Yeah.
fix them up so fire. They're
Right.
so dope, man.
Yeah, so they're these
That's
guys.
cool.
These guys are doing. There's different gearboxes to select too.
Yeah.
They're making. People are making different adapter plates to run the BMW Trans. They're using the G30 537.
Oh, CD06,
CD009.
CD009. Oh, okay.
That one is a big one. That's actually a really nice gearbox for a very good price. And then the S2000 gearbox.
Oh, okay.
So like there's all those different options there. So I'm figuring out ways where I can kind of incorporate and solve the formula. I want to get the website with the new employee. One big thing is to get that website dialed in.
Sure.
So you can select all those different options. I think that's going to be huge.
Very cool.
And then also incorporating not just these cars like the BMW and the Nissan and all these random platforms, but also more like Universal, where you could do the PDM loom and it'll plug straight into the rear wheel drive harness, and then that'll plug into a fuse box if you want to keep it simple, or just like flying leads coming out and you could power a few wires in your own fuse box. So just giving people a super just incredibly easy solution to just throw a K into any car, whether it be plug and play and have all the electronics work, or full standalone, flying lead, yada yada yada.
Hell
have
yeah.
like mad options.
Hell yeah.
Also, probably going to jump into Haltech.
Okay.
And maybe do like a Haltech K series loom.
Yes.
I'm actually kind of talking to Haltech about it. Maybe see what they think. I'd love to be able, like, I try to get some of these manufacturers on board, whether they be like an Australian based company, but then like they're USA dealers.
Yeah.
Like I know Haltech USA, and maybe if they can help me maybe like stock some of these looms,
Sure.
then we could do like bigger batches
Sure.
at once, and It can help bring the price down for everybody.
Yeah,
Because if I do a batch and I do 100 pieces, I it's going to be a certain price.
of course.
And it might be a little high. But if I'm going to do like 500 pieces,
Yeah,
now it's going to honestly it's going to bring everything down. So now it's you look at the like when you look on my website and you see a price, wow, why is that one so much more? It's because we do so much less.
of course.
It costs so much more because
I
we do
mean,
so many less pieces.
that's a fundamentally elementary business reality,
Yeah.
but the average person doesn't understand that.
Right. But if I can get more of these people
Yes,
on board,
yes.
it'll drive those prices down, which would be great for everyone.
Yeah, I think they just see it and they're like, "That why is that so much?" And you shouldn't even have to explain why. But I think it's cool that you do
Yeah.
and you are explaining it. So okay, so you've got expanding K options,
Yeah, and then
other
we're gonna do
chassis.
yeah, and then we're gonna do some other stuff like 2JZ more so.
Yes,
So we're
mhm.
gonna have more options for the 2J stuff, more chassis selectable, more like coil options that are
Yes.
starting to get more and more popular.
Yes.
Also the GM LS stuff we're gonna do, and the first one we're gonna do is LS3 with the E36 ECU.
Okay.
Sorry, E38 ECU.
Okay.
Excuse me. So anyway, that ECU is really popular. It's going to be for manual transmission. Really nice Raycam harness. Not going to do a huge run of those, so the prices are going to kind of be high. But as popularity starts getting bigger, I know for like example, Turn 14 was like, you need to do more GM stuff.
Okay.
They're hungry to sell GM harnesses. So we're going to do that E38 ECU, and I think that one could be really good. We're working through that one right now. It's going to be available really soon.
Mhm.
So just expanding the catalog of like these key looms that we already do, but just
Yes.
making them like that much better. So that's my like big year projection.
For 2021.
Yeah, and then I guess for future years and growing through like let's call it a 5 year,
Yeah.
I definitely want to get more involved in the EV market.
Mhm.
I think that's it's not like my thing is I wanted to get that car done and I wanted to learn and I wanted to get all that experience this last year, but I'm not trying to like jump to a product just yet.
Okay.
Like, like a product that's EV specific.
Okay.
I want to take my time to really figure out what that product could be and how I can incorporate that with the mass amount of I want to be able to hit the biggest market.
Yes.
I want to be able to my first product I want it to be able to be used in the greatest amount of applications.
For sure.
So let's just give it a little bit of time and
Yeah.
maybe I can work with AEM with something. I don't know.
Okay.
We'll kind of see. And then for like further past that, it's just growing I kind of just don't really I can't really project out that far because things are changing so rapidly.
Sure. I mean, what you just talked about is a ridiculous amount of work.
It is.
But it's hitting, what you see as these key markets.
Yeah.
That are, the K and the LS are going to be around forever.
And 2J too.
Yeah, forever.
Yeah.
So that's perfect. I think that's great. So there you guys go. EV, 2J, LS, GM, K, front, rear wheel drive, all wheel drive, longitudinal, just all kinds of options.
Yeah,
that's fantastic, man.
Thanks.
That's fantastic.
Thanks.
All right, you
and
guys.
And for you with your business, what like?
Oh, you know what? That's really cool for you to ask. Guys, I just do my best. I do my best to observe, understand, but yet, yes, you have to kind of understand what's going on in the world around you. But I've always felt like there's a very thin line between understanding the world around you and then just doing what the world around you is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's a little bit philosophical, but I feel like authenticity matters.
Mm-hmm.
The reasons why you do what you do matters. Once again, that's a little bit more philosophical than business because there are many businesses that make a whole lot of money and are very successful, and the why they do it is to make money.
Sure.
Right? And they'll I don't know, they might say that, acknowledge it or not, but there is nothing philosophical. They see a niche, they make money doing it. Maybe I'm a fool because I don't really do it that way.
Well,
I almost see money as being um uh, a side effect.
Or like a after, yeah, like it's
It's not the primary goal.
it'll come when it comes.
Yes, yes.
And the point is to like educate people.
Yeah, to
and
better okay,
just better it.
better people. We're all part of a community and a culture. Car, not car, whatever. Humans, however you want to do it. And so my whole brand and business in the context of the Think Bigger project is about an individual helping an individual better themselves,
Mhm.
which starts in the way that they think. Ryan didn't get to this point because he thinks like a fool, right? He had to evolve. I had to evolve and get to a point where the things that we do come from a place in here first, and then of course in here. And by helping the individuals who comprise the community
Mhm.
better themselves, they can then be in a place to make the community that they're a part of better.
Yeah.
Right?
And
So
it comes all full circle back.
I believe it does. I
Yeah.
believe it does. So, my plans, honestly, you guys, there's always new designs, there's always new credos and sayings and designs that indicate, where one's mindset is, So, I mean, this, you have this jacket too, but
I do.
passion, drive, focus, for the guys who've been around, this series did really well because I think the idea of having passion, which I'm actually releasing a Think Bigger podcast episode specifically dedicated to addressing what I believe is a very Disney version of passion.
Okay.
It's literally the podcast. The Think Bigger podcast episode is called "Fuck Your Passion," because I believe that passion is one of the greatest uh, necessities, and it is also one of the most overrated ones. Right? Because people are so into find something you're passionate about, and I know people who aren't passionate about what they do, but they outwork anyone around them. And
Sure.
I'd rather take the person whose idea is to work hard than the person who's like, I want to be passionate about this. Okay.
Yeah.
And I really
I
go
got
into
it.
that. That's like years of thoughts, people's conversations, observations, and put together. And it's a very deep episode. But, for me, you guys, the Think Bigger project, every design, every vlog, every credo, every saying, it's all about, helping someone, realize and acknowledge that they're in charge of the way that they behave. And
Yeah.
you cannot change the way you behave if you don't change the way that you think. That's why it's called the Think Bigger project. So my goals, to put it in a nutshell, is to continue to come from a place of authenticity, to better the community and the culture, to not just keep it surviving, but to help it thrive,
Yeah.
to go to a better place, to help people, whether you're 12 or 42. We can all learn something from each other. The community conversations branch of the Think Bigger podcast, it's all about that. We can all teach each other something. We can all learn from each other. And the whole point of having that guest segment
Mm-hmm.
on the podcast is to put someone in a position to share, and people can learn not just about them but from them.
Are you gonna have a guest on the passion?
No,
or-
the Fuck Your Passion one
It's
is
just gonna be you,
it's
right?
just me
Yeah.
compiling.
I think it's better that
you know,
way, obviously.
Some of the most downloaded episodes of all time are the ones where there wasn't a guest.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough.
Right.
So as I've gone through the analytics, I think the people really it resonates with people. So right now, like I said, this was an older series. People have been asking me to bring it back. I suppose I am open to that. But right now,
I
it's
really like that jacket.
Thank
I mean,
you.
the colorway is really good too.
Thank you. The Thinker series. This is what's out right now. So everything from acrylic pins, beanies and snapbacks are coming, which is all just stuff that you guys have asked me to create. I didn't really know if I was ever going to do that per se. I've got tees of different colorways, hoodies just dropped. And just to know that somebody in San Diego, New York, Miami, Seattle, and then I'll ship to Belgium,
Yeah.
Australia, Japan, Germany, London. It's just crazy that these people all over the same city, the same county, the same state, the same country, and then just the same planet,
Yeah.
however they found it or heard about me and they're willing to order support in their region, wherever that region is. So I believe in authentic, organic growth, and my goal is to continue to provide something that someone anywhere in the world can believe in. That's what the Think
Yeah.
Bigger project is, one of the sayings is represent your mindset. And if you are in an area of growth, business wise, socially, emotionally, mentally, that's something to be proud of. And that's something to represent. So that's what the Think Bigger project's about. And the apparel is just a way to support the project and to represent your mindset.
Yeah,
So
the organic growth part of it, I like.
thank you.
I mean, that's always how I've been with everything too.
It's a long game. You have to
Yeah,
be very
it's
very very diligent
yeah,
because it's slow and hard, and you have to be able to deal with looking around and being like
yeah. Like
everyone else
it's not
seems to
moving
be.
fast.
Yeah,
Everybody's moving faster than I am.
it sure, and they sure look like they are.
Yeah,
And I believe in like I've mentioned this before. I believe Ryan and I being here this many decades later is because of authenticity. That longevity comes from authenticity, and so I'm sticking with that.
yeah,
And I appreciate all of you, from people who've known me forever to people that just started following me on IG yesterday. Supporting in the context of giving their time to the vlogs, the podcast, and their hard-earned money to the apparel. So that's really the Think Bigger project for 2021. We're just going to continue growing it together. So, all right, guys, we have a few more questions, and when we come back, we'll get to them. Sound good?
mm-hmm.
All right, we'll see you guys in a moment. Think Bigger podcast. This is a branch of the Think Bigger project that is a brand and a movement and an ideology that was created to better the community and the culture around it. How you behave in your relationships, how you build a car, how you do anything comes from the way that you think. And if you can start there, then everything else will follow. All right, you guys, welcome back. We're going to get back to these questions. There's a bunch of them that Ryan and I have answered already, and we're going to go through some of these other ones right here. Okay. Wow. All right. This is a bit of a doozy.
Okay, I'm ready for it.
What do you think about YouTube influencers in the car space?
You want to start? You want me to start? I'll give you the option.
You know what, Ryan? I think that you should start because I think my answer, it's going to give me time to shorten my answer.
Okay.
So please
You
go
have a
ahead.
long-winded one. So, what do I think of them? I'm a little bit jealous
Okay?
because I could barely get people to watch my videos, man.
Okay.
And I think like I don't know that my content's like great, but I'm like working on cool cars. So there's a little bit of jealousy. I have a little bit of respect for them in the sense that I'm not editing my own videos. I'm having my boy Jason do it.
Shout out to Jason.
Shout out to Jason. But I mean, God, those guys have to like you got to shoot all day and then you got to edit all night.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I guess
I think only a couple of them edit their own stuff now.
Probably.
Who knows?
I mean, but I'm sure they all started out at least.
Sure, I would think
You know,
so.
once they start getting those big YouTube dollars, then they can afford to hire people to do it. You know, but no, it's like I think that I have a lot of respect for them. I have a little, like I said, low key jealousy because they're getting all the views and I can't seem to get much. But like I feel like a lot of them have kind of like become like legitimate car people in some cases.
Okay.
Whereas maybe they didn't really start off that way. Because let's face it, a lot of them are very young. They're not as experienced. I mean, like, I look back and go, oh, I've been doing this for
whatever many years.
20, 30, I don't remember, a long time.
Yeah.
You know, these dudes couldn't possibly have been.
No.
But they just, they hit the right place at the right time. I do have a lot of respect for them, but at the same time, I feel like they haven't proven themselves yet. And it's like, they just hit the algorithms,
Sure.
and it's just the constant posting, and unfortunately I just can't be that regular about it.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, I hear that YouTube used to pay a lot more money
Yeah.
per view or per click or per whatever, and I guess they've cut back a bit.
Yeah, but I mean, when you're a certain
But
size, you
right,
still make money.
and numbers are as high as they've ever been.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So naturally, you got to limit that to a certain amount.
Sure,
But
sure.
I don't know. I guess I I don't really think too terribly much about YouTube. I watch very little videos. It's funny, some of the bigger like import card, like what'd you call it,
Like in that
in that
space.
space. A lot of these guys have like been getting houses, and I've been actually like more intrigued with what kind of homes that they're picking up,
Sure, sure.
in what areas, and if they're doing renovations or if they're trying to put like cars in their houses or what they're trying
Yeah,
to do.
yeah.
That's kind of interesting to me a little bit.
Okay,
But the builds maybe not quite as much, maybe not.
okay,
um
okay.
but there's some guys, like, I'd hate to even like talk about names, but
Yeah, then
like,
don't worry about that.
there's guys that I know personally, and they've been in the scene for a long time, and they're doing very well, and they're killing it. So those guys I'm like happy for.
Sure, sure.
Some of the other people, I guess I'm like props, but I don't feel the same way.
Of course not. Yeah, I get it.
The
I get it.
OGs are different,
It's
right?
different.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't
Well, it's
know.
different to us because we know what they've accomplished
Mm-hmm.
and we respect them. And I think that there's a big difference because what I've noticed is in the new generation is I don't think that the new generation, and when I say new generation, that's very broad. I don't literally mean the newest generation,
Sure.
not X or Y or millennials. I'm sort of just, um, I have observed that they don't really give a damn who did it first.
Sure,
They have
yeah.
absolutely no reverence for that type of thought process.
Yeah.
It doesn't occur to them that a person should acknowledge
Mm.
in however they so choose to acknowledge. They don't care who did it first. They don't care where the idea came from. They don't care who did that. It's it's more entertainment than it is this real hardcore automotive culture love. So,
Yeah.
for my answer, I like the way you put it. I do. Anytime you see somebody who's able to buy um, a home for themselves and their family, or maybe just themselves. However, a home is a real grown adult purchase. And whatever you're doing for you to be able to purchase a home, right? That's a beautiful thing. A person
Mm-hmm.
has a place to live. And how much better is it if they're able to buy and or create a place that isn't just a home, but a dream home,
Sure.
right? So in that sense, I'm going to be happy for anyone who's able to do that. I think that whether or not people want to acknowledge it, if they aren't now, they sure as fuck were seen kids and they were culture vultures.
Sure.
I'm sorry. You can be as successful as you want, but if you just saw a niche
Mm-hmm.
and found a way to get attention within it,
Sure.
didn't we just talk about that?
Yeah.
That is what that is. Now, just because you end up getting famous doing it doesn't mean that you didn't come into another world that you weren't a part of, and optimize it.
Sure.
Okay. Now, is that harsh? I don't know if that's harsh, but with that being said, the effort and consistency and time that went into carving out their names and their views,
Yeah.
I have respect for that. I have respect for the amount of time and hours and years that not these people that we're thinking of didn't really blow up overnight.
Of course not.
So I have respect for the fact that they made a decision to do something
they stayed
and
with
they
it.
stayed with it sometimes for 2 or 5 or 7 years to get to this point. So there is a respect for that. I do not know how to relate to the idea of I don't give a fuck who came before me. Maybe that's just the generation I'm from, the type of man that I've become, the culture that I came from. It's not just about cars, just in general. There's a part of me that doesn't relate to. I like to go get them. It's our time kind of angle.
Sure.
I don't, everyone get out of my way. I
Yeah.
dig that. But I think people have taken that too far. I think that you can acknowledge, you can pay homage, you can do that without staying underneath their heel. It's not about staying underneath their heel or being stuck in the past at all. That's immediately what I hear people do.
Oh
They're like,
yeah,
"Oh,
yeah, yeah.
it's not, you're old. It's not your time anymore." Well, that's not what we're talking about, right? Um, because the people who are putting, the whole stereotype about how they're all just wide bodying a car and putting it on air. Well, who designed the wide body? The person that you don't want to give respect to, the company that's been around longer than you've been alive. They have been creating aero
Yeah.
for decades. Um, what about the air? I mean, it could be an American company, it could be a Chinese company, whatever. But I mean, you're just taking that formula, which it's now evolved for a lot of these people. I'm just talking about how when we first started looking at it a few years back, it's like that's all they were doing. And to me, that's shock value
Yeah, I think that held true back
for
then
a
for
while.
sure.
And it's
Yeah.
evolved. It's evolved, guys. But I mean, make a car as wide as you can, as low as you can, and as loud as you can. If that's not a scene, kid, you tell me what is.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's all based entirely on attention and shock value. In the case of digital marketing, it's called clickbait, right? How you word things, you act like a human cartoon character, right? Because when you're calm, relaxed, articulate, and chill, it's not as exciting.
It's
It's
not as
not
fun to
entertaining,
view.
right?
Yeah.
So the idea is, are you okay with being a source of entertainment rather than a person that someone respects? Because it's not always hand in hand.
Right.
So I am with Ryan in the sense of respect, the success in the sense of that. I've seen people who are their following is cult like. It's cult like.
It's
Seen it.
crazy.
I've seen it with my
It's
own
awesome
eyes.
for them.
For them, in that sense, it's really cool. And it's also a bit of, I guess you would say, timing. I don't really believe in luck, but let's just go with timing. If they were, if for those of you who are under the age of like 20, the world is social media. Like all
Yeah.
you know is the internet, and it's just a normal thing for you. So because of that, how am I supposed to be upset that you're more proficient and efficient at utilizing these things that we're still in a sense having to learn, but it's second nature to you? I can't be mad at that.
Yeah, it's like a language.
Yeah.
You grew up speaking it.
Yeah. And so you guys at a young age are extremely good. And look at the speed at which people are creating videos and editing photos on their phones.
Yeah.
Like people are chopping videos together, adding music and coloring and editing, and they're doing it just like
And you're
cranking
like,
out something that a
"How did
person
you
would
do
have to
that?"
sit there and just like zone into a computer.
Yeah.
So I think it's amazing in many ways, and I can appreciate the evolution and the refinement from it just being, to anyone over the age of 25, complete bullshit cars, to be very honest with you guys. But it's evolved to something more respectable now. And I dig that. So that is a very short version of my answer. But once again, it's you guys, and just to be clear, just because we may not like or even agree with something doesn't make us haters. Don't do that. People do that immediately. You say something other than, oh, fuck yes.
We're haters.
And you're haters. And it's like, no, you guys, it's a perspective, it's our experience. And so that's kind of how I feel about that. So, salute to everyone out there doing what they do to be able to provide for themselves, and not just provide, but buy their wants, all their wants
Sure.
and their dreams. So that's really cool. So that was one of those questions that I was like, oh my God, that can be like a crazy one.
A doozy.
Yeah, doozy as we call it. We can just run through a couple of these other last ones.
Sure.
Ryan, is the next car that you build going to be white again?
No, it's not.
It's not.
Well, if it's the old 911, then it's not going to be white.
Then it's not going to be white.
Yeah.
And well, the CRX was just incidentally white.
Yeah, well, that was.
I mean, that's his car.
That's Aaron's car.
Shout out to A1. But that was the thing, because the S2, the EA,
Yeah.
the EV S2,
Yeah.
they're all white. So someone was like, "Is the next car you're gonna do be white again?"
Yeah, but I wanted. I really wanted that car.
Yeah.
And that's Angel's car, and I was like, oh, I want a white S2000, so that's why I did it white.
Okay, so
I
there we
really
go.
just wanted a white.
If it's his Porsche build, not gonna be
Not
white.
gonna be white, but if one comes in between it, and
It might be white.
it might be white. I don't know.
Oh, Big Mike is okay. Is my next build going to be gray? No,
No.
but yet at the same time, it totally could be, but not because of what Ryan said, but because like it's either white body or gray body. When you look back at like all these crazy race cars from Japan, they've always been like that.
Yeah, sure.
And that's where I got the idea from. Whether you do a livery that's vinyl or painted, whenever I saw these crazy race cars from back in the day, when the hood was open or the trunk and the
yeah,
caged up painted interior, it was Battleship Gray.
right.
And so, Battleship Gray. And so that was really what ended up making me decide to do version 3 of my build in that color. If I ever did a livery, there's something not wrong about the jams or the bay or the chassis being gray body.
Yeah, that's true.
Because that's how it was always done back then. So yeah, actually, it's completely possible that the next build I do would be Battleship Gray,
Or some part of it be Battleship.
or some part of it. All right. What about? Oh, what is the worst thing that has ever happened to you while working on a car or driving a car?
Working old, there's like that's two different things.
Okay, so what's the worst thing that ever happened to you while working on a car?
Just off the top of my head,
Yeah,
because I
off
can't
the top
really,
of your head.
when I was working on my CRX, like my one of my first CRXs, and
Yeah.
I was like 19 or
Yes.
whatever. It slipped off. I didn't use a proper jack.
Oh, are you
and
about to
it's-
steal my story?
Oh yeah,
What
well,
happened?
I know that
You already know. Okay.
But it happened to me too.
Yeah.
It hit the where did it fall to? On the CRX, there's the like I had one of those bars, the traction bar,
Yeah.
that you can jack up on.
Yes.
And then I think I had a flat, and then the traction bar was round.
Yes.
And so it slipped
off.
and it barely caught my radiator support, and then it pushed the whole thing up just a little bit. But the cool thing about it is that it didn't do as much damage as it like in theory could have.
Okay.
So I just took off the T-bar, I pushed everything down, bent it all flat, and it pretty much sat.
Like with your foot, you stood on it. Or...
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And it was still bent in the bottom,
Of course,
but
yeah.
everywhere else it was fine.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's not good at all.
Of course.
But it could have visually been worse, and that's probably the worst time working on a car.
I mean, driving would be like an accident.
Crashing.
Yeah. All right. So same thing here. Same exact thing.
I'm sure it's happened to a lot of people.
Has this ever happened to you guys? Have you guys ever been jacking up a car and it slipped off wherever you had put the jack point and just effed up another part? Same thing that happened to me.
That's how you have to learn, though.
In the driveway. Version 2 of my car was built in my driveway, and same thing, jacked the car up. I think it was a traction bar. Same fucking scenario.
Yeah, you have to get a jack that has some kind of a...
And slipped off and caught the bottom of my core support and pushed it up a kind of a decent amount. A pretty solid, like it that's the worst thing. I mean, other than like, cutting yourself or, smashing your finger or something. But yeah, man, as far as damaging the car. And you know what? There's one other story that's tied into that. When I had my EG, so now we're talking, 02, 03, I was, collecting relatively rare parts.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up getting a Mugen steering wheel, not an FG360, an SW30, I believe it was.
Okay.
And it was, at that time, pretty fucking hard to get them.
Uh-huh.
And the leather was beat up, but the face, the black, the horn button was perfect. But the leather,
the leather needed to be
and I was trying to find someone who would do steering wheels, because in most interior places they won't do them.
Yeah.
It's a little more difficult, complex, or whatever.
Yeah.
Obviously, there were probably a ton of places as far as what I was able to find.
Right.
And I ended up finding someone who did it. Super nice, soft, thin, but soft leather.
Okay.
Cost me like $300.
Okay.
Right? And they did it by hand. And in the first week, I used to hook my keys into my pocket.
Uh-huh.
And I got into my EG, key in my pocket, and the key just dug right into the side of the leather, you know? And I was like, the steering wheel was probably $200. 2 3 months later, spent $300. Fresh leather, smelled fresh leather, soft to the touch, and then I just effed it up with my keys. And so I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I was 21 at the time. $500 is a ton of money, And I was like,
Yeah.
I just ruined the steering wheel. So
It's
let's
probably worth
just.
$2,000 now,
Oh
though.
yeah, if I had not messed it up, sure. So those are tied. As far as worst thing that happened driving, car accidents. I
Mhm.
mean, my EF crashing my EF. I bit into my tongue when I crashed, and I had bruises on my chest. So I mean, there's different worse things happen while driving. That's a whole different. That's like a whole series of stories right there. We've all had some accidents. What about you guys? What's the worst thing that has ever happened to you while working on a car? I know a lot of like fab guys. I know that have cut fingers, smashed fingers from lifts. Cars going up and down.
Yeah.
So there's probably some pretty major injuries. I mean, I've known a couple of people who've passed away um, from a
Working on
car falling
cars.
on them,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Or
So
falling on the dyno, or
yeah. So, that should save the stories of that. But what about you guys? What's the worst thing that's ever happened to you while wrenching on a car, and what about while driving? And as always, anything we've talked about, if you guys have an idea, a question, an agreement, a disagreement, we're very interested in your perspectives. Any other questions? You're just like, I can't believe this hasn't come up. This is already part 2 episode of answering questions. You're like, I can't believe they haven't answered it. Please don't hesitate to share with us on Ryan's IG, my IG. Once again, you guys check out the stuff he has on his personal YouTube channel. I have stuff coming out on mine. We appreciate you guys.
yeah.
And that I honestly have about 25 more questions.
But maybe for
So
another episode.
part 3, we'll answer more questions in a part 3 episode, which is once again dedicated to you guys and what you want us to talk about. So, Ryan,
I think that we're gonna wrap it up for tonight.
we'll wrap it up. We appreciate you guys. As the saying goes, like, comment, and subscribe.
Click.
And
the bell.
put a comment in there and all that jazz to help fight the algorithm. And we put an episode out every week, and we appreciate you guys. And keep in touch with us in the comments on our Instagrams, whichever way you want, and we will read them and we will respond. Okay. All right, guys, take care. We appreciate you. See you on the next one.